من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, whoever will come with one good deed, one hasana, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give him reward 10 times, 10 like that. It will be counted 10 good deeds like that, 10 hasana like that. He will be rewarded 10 times, and that is minimum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says further, and whoever will come with bad deed, then he will not be paid, or he will not be punished, or he will not be taken to task except equal to that one bad deed, and they will not be treated with zulm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beautiful ayat. The previous ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by saying that if people, they drift away from the right path and they become deviated sect, don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with them, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show them what they have done on the day of judgment. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning His general sunnat when it comes to good deeds and bad deeds. This is aam. This is always. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with hasana and with sayyah, with good deed and with bad deed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, whoever will come with one good deed, then at least Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him 10 times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him 10 times, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned here minimum, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went on to mention maximum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can reward him as much as he wish, as much as he like. Manifold, ad'afan kathira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had mentioned there, when it comes to treat good deed, that start with 10 at least, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, ad'afan mudha'afa. Many folds and many times, and as much as Allah will wish. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will deal with your good deed. And when it comes to bad deed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, whoever will perform sin, whoever will come with bad deed, then he will be paid back equal to that one bad deed. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will try to deal with him with justice, then that is Allah's sunnah, that only one bad deed will be taken as one bad deed. And that also when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will treat him with justice. Otherwise, when it comes to bad deed, there are two other His mercy and sunnat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had announced that sometime when it comes to bad deed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ignores. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't take account for that. And sometime Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you come with bad deed, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmat and kindness is in force, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pardon you for that bad deed. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold you responsible, then you must know that is Allah's sunnah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take your bad deed as one, and you will be paid equal to that one bad deed. Illa mislaha wa hum la yuzlamun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that they will never be treated with zulm. So we have done in some of the ayat or some of the riwayat before, that when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are only two things, either fadl or either adal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats with fadl, or when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to do adal, that's why Quran had taught us that you must never, sometimes some people very hurriedly say, no, I will give answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, my friend, who can stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who can face reckoning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who, if Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Man futtisha, if someone is being asked, that okay, now come in front of me. I'm going to ask you now. I'm going to hold you responsible. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if someone is going to be asked, then he's gone. No one can stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why, sometimes out of no knowledge or out of ignorance, sometimes we say very rushingly, no, I will give answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who can give answer? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in front of our mother Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that what I expect, I only expect His mercy. So that's why Quran taught us that do not say, Quran didn't say was'alullaha min adli. Quran didn't teach us. You will never find into the whole Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us that ask for justice. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said was'alullaha min fadli. Ask for the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When it comes to bad deed, He had announced that many times, and وَمَا أَصَابَكُم مِّن مُّصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ وَيَعْفُو عَن كَثِيرٍ. When it comes to bad deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, any trouble strikes you, that is because of your own deed. Because of مَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ حَسَنَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ وَمَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ سَيِّئَةٍ فَمِنْ نَفْسِكَ. Whatever hasana reaches you, it is from Allah. And whatever sayyi'ah reaches you, it is from you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in one of the ayat, مَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ وَمَا أَصَابَكُمْ مِنْ مُصِيبَةٍ فَبِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ. If any musibat strikes you, it is because whatever you have earned. وَيَعْفُو عَنْ كَثِيرٍ. And His sunnah, that majority times He pardons you. He ignores. He let it go. So that is His sunnah, that He let it go. Many times that sayyi'ah He pardons you. Many times He said, فَأُولَٰئِكَ يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. When His mercy is in force, then your bad deeds He turns into hasanat. That is Allah. And from that Allah, can anybody expect zulam? وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. They will never be treated with zulam. They will never be treated with zulam. These types of ayat, we need to explain it to our children, especially those who go to universities and higher education. They go through philosophies and then they are being bombarded with the question that why tsunami takes place? Why does disasters takes place? Why babies dying? Why is Allah cruel, na'uz billah? Is Allah zalim, na'uz billah? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connect us to Quran and Sunnah. If we are being connected to Quran and Sunnah, then these types of questions will be childish. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us imani vision, Qurani vision of Quran and Sunnah. Inshallah, we'll do the same translation after Isha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. يا أول الأولين يا آخر الآخرين يا راحم المساكين يا ذا القوة المتين يا ذا المن فلا يمن عليك يا ذا الطول يا ذا الجلال والإكرام لا إله إلا أنت زهر اللاجئين وجار المستجيرين ومأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين يا مأمن الخائفين إن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب أشقياء فامحو عنا اسم الشقاء وإن كنت كتبتنا عندك في الكتاب مقطرا علينا أرزاقنا فامحو تقطير رزقنا وحرمان رزقنا واكتبنا وأثبتنا عندك سعداء ووفقنا الخير فإنك تقول في كتابك يمحو الله ما يشاء ويثبت وعنده الكتاب يا من عنده الكتاب اللهم إنا نسألك فعل الخيرات وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وأن تغفر لنا وترحمنا فإذا أردت بقوم فتنة فتوفنا غير مفتونين غير خزايا ولا ندامة ولا مفتونين اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم ثبتنا على الإيمان وأمتنا على الإيمان اللهم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما اللهم واقية كواقية الوليد اللهم علمنا الكتاب والتأويل وفقهنا في الدين وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا وحبيبنا وقلانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمته